alaikum. I'm Aksa Tariq, and I welcome you to another episode with CXO Masters Academy. So CXO Masters Academy is basically a celebration of 15 years of the CIO magazine that we've been producing and its sister C-suite media brands. We were trying to be, and we've revamped to become the new face of the most experienced space that helps cater to vendor enterprise connections while also funneling market intelligence, producing insights, debating ideas, and creating a robust IT advisory ecosystem. All of this is, of course, centered around first-class local content, build it up, a decade and a half of first-party relationships. On that note, I'd like to open today's session, the CXO WatchTower Firesides, brought to you by Commtel, with our media brand CISO, where we will be discussing the digital transformation of data security. We have with us a stellar panel of cybersecurity and compliance experts today, including Mr. Atif Azim, the Chief Information Security Officer at Standard Chartered Bank, Pakistan. We have Mr. Iftikhar, Chief Information Security Officer at JS Bank. And we have Mr. Rahim Pirani, Head Contact Center, ADC Technology Operations, and Head of PCI DSS at Bank Alfalah. With this, I'd like to quickly, of course, welcome our guests for today. We'll do a quick round of introductions, telling people about the various functions that each of you look after. And I was actually having an offline conversation with Rahim Sab also, talking about how the role of the CISO has developed over the last few years, and not just that, but there are a lot more people in the C-suite or in the enterprise business today who are responsible for driving digital transformation in various capacities. So I'd like you all to give a quick intro about the work that you've been doing and how that role has evolved over the last many years of your own experience. So Atif, we can start with you if that's all right.
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much for having me over. It's indeed a privilege to be here amongst and sharing my views, and especially to be connecting with my fellow senior professionals from the industry. Coming to your question, certainly being in the industry since the last almost 16 years now, I have actually seen how the CISO role has evolved from a point where at the start of my career, there weren't any CISOs at all in any of the organizations, even not in the banking sector at that time. That is something that I'm talking about in 2005 and 6. It was only around 2007 or 8, you can say, that banks started to realize it, and it was something that that we could see an indication coming in from the central bank as well to take cybersecurity seriously. It also was seen at that time where organizations were hiring CISOs on a service, as a service, coming in, advising, helping them in developing their security policies and standards. From that point onwards to a point where, and at that time, I'm talking about 2007 and 8, where there used to be perhaps a maximum of 2 people or 3 people in the cybersecurity department. To the point then where in the next 4 to 5 years, we started to see that organizations started to actually build their cybersecurity departments because the cybersecurity threat landscape was changing altogether. And we had started to see that not only there were script kiddies, which were there 20 years back, but now we were talking about organizations getting attacked, and we were seeing lots and lots of money being funneled out of the organization. So this series of attacks was actually what led to more emphasis being provided by organizations, by the financial sector, of course, because hackers are mostly after the money, So a lot of emphasis there from them in that regard. Then we saw that a lot of emphasis, and the emphasis even more increased from the central bank around 2012 or 13, I would say. And we saw a lot of frameworks coming in from the state bank, and this actually, I would say, has helped develop that tone at the top, Because although being a cybersecurity professional, I can never say that compliance is equal to security, but all at the same time, it does help to establish that tone at the top, and I'm all for it in that regards. Now to the point where we are standing in 2021, it's a completely different scenario over the last 15 years, from a point where there were no CISOs to the point where every organization has a CISO, and every organization in the financial, or should I say the banking sector, has a CISO, and this role has become much more critical given the incidents that have been happening across the globe. I would like to say that just in the last 6 to 8 months, we have seen a couple of incidents happening which have actually shook the critical infrastructure. And I must say that it is now being taken all the more seriously.
Absolutely, and thank you. I think Iftikhar Sahab and Rahim Sahab can add more to this as well.
Assalamu alaikum ji. This is Iftikhar Khan from JS Bank. Thank you so much for taking me on board. Very well explained by Atif. I think I have to add on it only. So just to give me the brief of what I have done and what my exposure is. So I have been in the industry from last around 15 years, from in different roles, in different assignments, in different engagements, in different banks. So I have seen all the things I have Atif has already mentioned. So just to add on that, it's almost a 180-degree shift from we have seen in a couple of years that threat and the risk is arising, and the emerging threats are arising day by day. So in earlier days, we had a traditional ways of money transfer, one channel to one channel. So people have to go to branches, and normally banks, or you can say financial institutes, are mainly focused to expand their branch networks where they can attract people physically. So now it's a whole the dynamics are changing. The people are getting towards their phone to have their bank's account over there to transfer the money. So it's a whole 180-degree shift where digitization is more focused. So when it comes to the digitization, so you can say the threat vectors or the threats are changing day by day. So we have to work against the new threats, in which the type of industry we are living right now. So I believe Atif has very well explained all over the journey we have faced.
And that's true. And I'd just like to quickly add before I give it to Rahim Sahab, Atif Sahab said something very interesting, that it's not just, the CISO role has evolved so much that, cybersecurity does not only concern the cybersecurity department anymore. It's a lot more people involved. And like Iftikhar Sahab said, digitization now, it has, and that's one of the reasons, why we've also moved away from just CIO. We are now talking about technology to everybody across the C-suite, because each one of them, whether it's HR, whether it's operations, whether it's, the chief innovation officers that are coming, chief transformation officers that are coming, each one of these individuals or these titles are responsible to drive that change, as both of you have rightly said. So Rahim Sahab, of course, he has a little bit of a different portfolio than a traditional CISO, of course. He looks at compliance, he looks at PCI DSS, which is interesting because, in the last 1.5 years with COVID, we've seen so much of online activity happening in every household. I'd like to, shift the focus there on you, Rahim Sahab.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Not much to add on because Atif and Iftikhar has said a lot about the industry, their exposure. So I would just add some minor technicalities or some details about my profile. I started my career around 15 plus years ago, and from a solution provider actually. So when from the solution provider, you tend to have requirements from the clients, from different clients, what they want. So never ever we experience such requirements regarding the security part. which we are seeing right now. So at that time, it was all about the networks. It was all about having more and more bandwidth, and just if you have more bandwidth, then you are having gold with you actually. So at that time, we were just having more and more exposure about the technologies, but not much about information security. People were not concerned, even financial institutions were not concerned about much about the security products and everything. Moving forward, coming towards 2005, 2006, slowly and gradually, the things shifted towards more towards recognizing what is security, not even focusing on security, but recognizing what is security. So slowly and gradually, I joined the telecom side as well. So from the telecom sector, it was very important to generate revenue, but from the security point of view, not much focus on that. But since technology is the pure forte of the telecom side, they need to evolve themselves in order to have new features and everything. So technology was definitely there, and slowly and gradually focus towards security was there. Moving towards a multinational or a local financial institutions around 2010, 2011, we tend to see how the focus is tilted towards more towards protection of data, because slowly and gradually people tend to see what how the customer data is being hacked, or there are frauds coming in the market, and what preventive measures, what proactive measures you need to take in order to safeguard customers' data. So slowly and gradually the focus was shifting towards the security. And of course, pre-COVID, there were traditional ways, as Iftikhar said, to do many things. We tend to go to branches. We tend to do we tend to use our checkbooks. We tend to use our ATM cards, debit cards. Now people are just focusing mainly on their mobile phones. So using the mobile phones, using the app, doing the transactions, and these alternate delivery channels are very effective now. And these alternate delivery channels are not only providing, facilitating the customers actually, but more importantly, the trust is there from the customer side. To win that trust, of course, you need to focus, you need to implement, you need to invest more and more on the security part. So in order to get this trust for the customer, the different frameworks are there to implement, to get more and more security enabled, like PCI DSS. We are talking about a standard. We'll definitely discuss more about it, but this is a journey towards winning the trust of the customer, because if you are having a PCI DSS logo with you, you are compliant, definitely customer would be inclined towards you to have their business, to facilitate their transactions. So all in all, it's definitely a great journey towards not only towards technology, but safeguarding those technology elements, safeguarding that data of customers, safeguarding overall industry actually from the bad people. So so all in all, a very good session. Thank you, Aksa, for inviting me for this session. I will definitely try my best to share my knowledge and learn from the participants that are joining in or that have joined so far. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. I think on that note, you've made some really important points, and I'd like to now, of course, take a deep dive into our session and the discussion. That businesses are really reinventing themselves through different digital transformation initiatives, right? So it's important for information security organization to undergo a similar transformation. So all three of you have I found that similar theme between what you've said, to become more strategic to the business. End of the day, if you get a PCI DSS compliance approval, or you get any other, for example, it just makes your business more robust, and it invites more sort of trust element, which has been a big problem for for any, I think, all over the world. And I'm not just going to say Pakistan, because it's something that the entire world faces. So major trends, including migration to public cloud, whether it's the expansion of software as a service, application delivery, whether it is, the increase of cost of data breaches, proliferating, privacy regulations. So there's a lot more that comes to it. So where I'm getting at is that, CISOs should begin by, it's commonly thought that CISOs should begin by leading a transformation of their data security program that puts in place a very strategic approach to mitigating risk and, of course, aligning it with business objectives. So in each of your particular roles, what are some of the ways that you are leading a data security program at your organization, and what have been the biggest challenges in developing that? So Atif Sab, we can start with you.
Okay, so I think your question is very good because every tough ask has a challenge associated with it, and certainly there are challenges associated with this with developing this senior management thought process that this cybersecurity governance is a key concern, is a key threat to the organization, and it can result in significant losses because whenever you see a cyber attack, you're always seeing that such and such amount, millions of dollars funneled out within no time. So it's not about being lax in this area. And eventually we as CISOs are we're tasked with developing that thought process and the senior management to take this seriously. Certainly in this regard, data security standards help us a lot in developing that thought and developing cybersecurity policies for the organization. A policy that is approved by the board, that is and has the senior management commitment to it, actually helps to establish that tone at the top and taking it seriously. Then comes in the standards part and the frameworks. You need to be having standards that are easy to understand for people in the organization to comply with and to work on.
We are actually fortunate that we are working in a banking industry, and we are nowadays we are strengthened by the state bank regulations, and our role has been recognized by the industry. So in earlier days it wasn't. So fortunately, we have now. You can say that we have backed by the board, or you can say the senior management, to initiate the program to strengthen the security controls around the data, around the crown jewels you have. So as Atif said, definitely if we have to build a program, we need to have some standardized practices or best practices or the framework, which normally you can see in the market. There are many frameworks like PCI DSS, ISO, or NEST, or you can name. There are many. So you have to identify what fits, what best fit for your organization. You have to identify what attacks or what threats you are open or exposed to it. What your touch point, what your business strategies. Then you have to pick the right framework, right controls around your data, around your crown jewels, and you have to implement, or you have to build the castle around it. So it's not about that we have to work in the silos. We have to work in the collaboration. It's the people, process, and technology, the whole framework. If you pick any of the frameworks, so it's to talk about from HR to from the supply chain management. So you have to go deep and deep in every function, where you have to go to your customer, which is the weakest link. You have to give them the training how you can protect your assets. So it's not about that by deploying of any control, or it's next and you are protected. It's not about it. You have to change the mindset. So it comes from the top management, that if you are back from the top management, you can drive your program, you can initiate your program, but you need to focus what are your assets, what are your touch point, where you are exposed. So that's the main thing. If you have all the knowledge, you can initiate your program, or you can design the program.
So I'll bring this back to Atif sir, where he left off. We were talking about picking that right sort of data security framework, and the main thing here is also implementing it with of course, like you said, there are of course multiple challenges and key areas that you need to sort of establish that okay, this is where you need to be moving forward. So if you'd like to pick up on that again.
Yeah, sorry, I think there must have been a bandwidth issue. I think the issues around are actually being able to rightly pitch to the management on how serious this is. You need to make them aware because at a lot of times I have witnessed that perhaps we are cybersecurity professionals, we get to know about all the industry updates very often, and they become used to it. But not everyone in the organization is as aware that as much as we may be. So our job is a lot about advising the senior management and the people and our key stakeholders on how critical this is, how many cyber attacks have actually happened in the recent past, and what is the impact this has on the organization. What if we get hacked? What will be the impact on us? What will be the financial impact on us? What will be the reputational impact on us? As CISOs, it is our job to make senior management aware of the ground realities, the events that are happening, and utilizing the best standards available. And using it to the best of our advantage in order to develop a cybersecurity program for the organization.
Right. On that, I think, Rahim Sahab, I'd like you to add in here that there are a lot of organizations that, of course, must prioritize their PCI compliance in order to, of course, avoid a data breach. Simply put, brushing off data protection best practices in the hopes that it will scrape by without any security incident is a risk that no company should take now. So where does your role, overlap or intersect with the cybersecurity function, and then how does that, allow you to develop that framework?
Yeah, overall, in terms of if you're talking about a standard, of course, I'll take the lead from what Atif and Iftikhar said. You need to have the board, the senior management support. You need to have the support from the top. If it's not there, whatever you are doing, either you are implementing a security program, either you are implementing any kind of a policy, that's not going to be effective. Full stop. Because if people are not serious about implementing the controls to safeguard customers' data, then it will be very, very difficult for others, for actually the organization to take care of the business actually. So talking about the overall program, yes, you need to have the management support. The program must be aligned with the organizational business requirement and the regulators' directives. We are fortunate enough to have a regulator in the financial industry, and we are being regulated very well. As a result, mostly you would see that the CISOs and the security-related frameworks and all those security initiatives come from the financial industry. Though they have big pockets as well, but it's very important to analyze, to realize the need of security, the need of customer data protection. So overall, that's very important. Coming to my role, how it aligns with in the organization. So I'm fortunate enough to have a taste of technology and security both. So in terms of technology, we tend to learn, we tend to implement, we tend to have those feature sets which are quite touchy, which are quite attractive for the customers. Whereas when we are talking about the security part, we tend to have that visibility, how to implement those technology parts to satisfy the customer needs and to satisfy the regulators' needs, and even to satisfy the standards needs, the framework needs. Like talking about PCI DSS, it defines the specific security requirements for the protection of card data. So the card when you're talking about digitization, it's mainly card present and card not present transactions. So overall, card data safeguard is very, very important for us. So there are several security controls, around 300 plus controls are there for PCI DSS that we need to implement. So of course, with the help of that people process technology, it's a close integration. And I'll be very open, it's when you're implementing this kind of standards, it's a complete teamwork. There is no technology, there is no security, there is no finance, there is no HR. It's a complete teamwork that results in the success of these controls, of these data protection elements. So overall, in overall perspective, I would say definitely implementing the data security framework is very important. But having a taste of technology plus the security part, I'm fortunate enough to have that, and I would love to excel in that. And I would recommend other people as well to definitely learn about technology and move towards the security part so that they can efficiently implement those controls. They can analyze, they can see what the customer needs are, and they can fulfill those needs and satisfy the regulated directives as well.
So, one of the things that you've said, Usme, so based on that, I'd like to, shift the focus on, as organizations place a higher priority on monetizing data analytics and all the data that's basically coming into an organization. We really want to explore how CISOs should look for opportunities to help CDOs remove regulatory, privacy, or security obstacles using technologies such as, privacy preserving analytics. So Atif Saab and Iftikhar Saab, if we could start with, your thoughts on that, on this data sharing, but also making it more transparent for the other C-suite members that you're working with.
So if I may take that, I think data analytics has a key role to play these days. And certainly, if you're not utilizing it, then you're going to not be at par. You will not be able to have that visibility which you're expected to be having, and you will not be able to provide that the same to the senior management as well. So no doubts about it. Utilization of technology should be technology should be utilized accordingly to develop visibility on. This can be in the form of dashboards. We as cybersecurity professionals utilize a lot of dashboards as well. Some of it can be in the form of a security incident and management dashboard, which highlights the cyber attacks that are happening towards the organization and reconnaissance efforts and so on and so forth. You can be having your governance, risk, and compliance dashboards as well, your database security, your application security, which is going to help senior management and, of course, the CDOs to ascertain where you stand as far as cybersecurity is concerned.
So, Iftikhar Saab, if you'd like to add something in here.
Yeah, true, exactly. So data analytics over the data lakes, yeah, it's a trend right now. So if you need to explore the market, you have to have a data of where you have to pitch, you have to sell yourself. So similarly, if you are pitching yourself, or you are going to capture the market, so you are going to expose your channels, you are going to expose your touch point. So there is you have to build the security around it. As Atif said, then you have to have threat intelligence, what threat feeds you are getting, and what are the vulnerabilities from where you're getting the data as well. So so overall, if you need to capture the market, if you need to work on the data, definitely it's about all the security, how is the data is secured. So you need to have dashboards, you need to have analytics of the data security as well, to present whether it's the data you are getting in is in a secure manner or not, or whether the data is going out from you is secure, or processing is secure, is stored in a secure manner or not. So it's whether, let's suppose if you are taking a data from any traditional way, like if you are not going into the data analysis, it's the same that you have to control your data in a secure manner. So if you are talking about the technology shift, then you again have to secure the data in a secure manners. But definitely the methodologies or the techniques are changed day by day. So you have to adopt the new technologies and the new security ways.
Rahim, if you'd like to add something here, we will take that right now.
Yeah, I would say that the overall customer trend analysis, when you're talking about big data analysis, it's all about the customer trend, how the customer is operating, how the customer is using his money at different terminals, at different ways actually. So you tend to analyze all those trends of the customer and offer different initiatives to the customer, different products to the customer, so that you can make money. But this is not the end of it. Making money is now directly linked with having a secure data framework. The digital ecosystem is getting more dynamic and diverse than ever now. This has brought a complete change in the way we view and experience the world. Pre-COVID, it was all traditional. Everything was not, I would not say digital. Digital was of course there, but the acceleration of digital is post-COVID. Post-COVID, we have seen that things have changed dramatically. The acceleration of going towards digital, like talking about cash moving to the cards, QR codes at POS, embedded in-app payments, shifting towards the e-commerce part, extended use of APIs, work from home, it all brings security challenges which are exponentially increasing day by day. As Iftikhar and Atif already said, that the use of dashboards definitely help us to analyze how the customer trends are there from the big data analytics, but how the security trends are there. The SOC monitoring help us to analyze what is our security posture. So overall, data protection is of key importance. If we want to be efficient, if we want to be productive, digitization needs a comprehensive security strategy. Pandemic has shown that trust is more important than ever. If the customer do not have trust on any institution, you may forget he will do a business with you. It's very difficult. So you need to win that trust. How do you win that trust? You need to show to the market that you are there to support the customer when these type of attacks are going on. So in this perspective, we should be taking security as an opportunity and empower the business and create a sustainable competitive advantage for the customer to opt for new products and facilitate them.
Absolutely. And I think what I was getting to right after this was, that it's been established that data protection and data privacy are, of course, the cornerstones of trust between businesses and their clients, no matter what industry you're looking at. So encryption and managing the keys to the kingdom are, these are critical components now to maintain trust and preventing data breaches and avoiding, regulatory penalties also. All three of you are, of course, part of an industry that's heavily regulated as well. However, we've seen a lot of data and insights globally also that the technology used to manage encryption is often antiquated, and it's based on sometimes 20-year-old hardware security modules. Technology that doesn't always interoperate well with public clouds or new APIs, and that could actually potentially be a hindrance to digital transformation. Do any of you in your capacity see that as a challenge? And if yes, what are you doing about it?
Iftikhar, would you like to take that?
Sure, definitely. Definitely, you said rightly that technology and the security are work in parallel. So it's not about that you are going to build the control, but you don't have a efficient, or you can say right technology in place. So you have to have a right technology. You have to upgrade the database. You have to upgrade the HSM system, which can support your key management system. Or if you are going towards the clouds, and then definitely you have to place infrastructure which can support your cloud system as well. So it's not about that you have to build your security control in one side and other side is weak and you don't have a system. So if data is traveling from one end to one end, so you have to upgrade your technology and the control as well. So I believe the point you are asking that whether the security and the technology go side by side in parallel. So answer is yes, true. If you need to remain in a security, you need to upgrade your technology day by day, because you know that threats are and the risks are arising day by day. They are very sophisticated, we are very advanced. If you don't have advanced malware solution, definitely if you are prone to the risk. So if you are using the old technology, like you are still using Windows 7, Windows XP, you have not upgraded, you are saying that I have applied the firewall only, so it's not sufficient. It's a era of 90 that where you only had single firewall and you said we are okay with it. So if you have to see that from where we can get compromised, it's an insider attacks, it's an external attack. So there are multiple ways hackers can gain the access of the system. So you have to build the technology and you have to build the security in a great manner.
Do you ever see that slowing digital transformation? A lot of this trend on, like, fintechs coming in and companies or startups demanding open APIs because obviously there's better integration, and other services that are coming in. As a bank, they'll call you all sorts of things because sometimes it feels like you're under that regulation and you're under that compliance issue. How are you tackling that? And even though I know that a lot of these, all the banks at least sitting here, we know that these are the top most progressive in terms of when it comes to adaptation to digital transformation. But have you been challenged by that at all?
So you are right. If you see in last couple of years, there's a dramatic change. You are using APIs to consume the services of the different services of the, like if you are using transferring money from one channel to one channel to, you have to use the API connectivity. So earlier days we had some old fashioned connectivity system, and if we are talking about to upgrade the technology, definitely yes, we have to build the security controls of it. So we have to have API security controls and application security controls which are exposing, which are connecting and transferring data.
What do you, Atif?
Yeah, that's a very good question, and very pertinent these days as well, because the number of startups that we're seeing grow globally and now in Pakistan as well has increased tremendously in the last 2 to 3 years. We are seeing a lot of investment coming in from abroad as well in this regard, and that is being recognized globally as well. But all of this, the startups and the fintechs, one thing is common, and the utilization of APIs is increasing like anything because of all these fintechs and startups. Rightly pointed out by Iftikhar that API security is critical these days. Just to let you know, I was reading on the news that Instagram was susceptible to API security last week, and the person who identified that was given a bounty of $25,000 just to identify that, because it was resulting in loss of private information getting leaked out from the profiles of unwanted professionals. So it is something that must be taken seriously, and that is why we need to be having cybersecurity programs in place, especially the application and API security programs. You must be utilizing the OWASP standards in order to assess the application security posture of your applications that are hosted to the external world, and also the APIs. We also do have an APIs OWASP API security standard as well, which should be utilized accordingly in order to assess the security posture of our APIs.
Thank you for the input. Rahim Sahab, if there's anything you'd like to add in here?
Yeah, just to take the lead from that, from what Iftikhar and Atif said, earlier we were just talking about having controls for database security and network security and endpoint security, identity management was there. But now we can see that application security is there. People are realizing how the use of application APIs are important, how the use of secure APIs are important. Of course, you need to follow certain standards to safeguard overall, the overall communication of the data. But in that perspective, you can see now financial sectors specifically are now advertising jobs for application security. So now people are realizing how application security is important, how the use of APIs are important, how the use of the need for audit is important for those APIs. So realization is definitely there. Now I think with the collaboration of the industry, that they need to share what are important for the business. CISOs need to collaborate with business and decide, because now I don't think CISO is a guardian anymore. CISO is now a technologist. CISO is now an advisor to business, because those that advice that you do with the business, you educate the business about what is happening across the world, what is the current threat landscape. If anybody says that we are hacked or we are not hacked, of course it's a big question mark. Nobody knows. If something comes out, you tend to know that certain organization is hacked, but nobody knows what is actually going on in the industry. So it's very important for the CISOs and of course other security professionals to educate the business, because money is not the end of it. You tend to lose a lot more than you earn if you just go for the money. You need to have those security controls in place to safeguard that money, to safeguard that customer confidence.
Sorry. So, there are some common themes that I've picked up on, and this might sound a bit, some of you have already sort of talked about this, but data protection and, when we're talking about different industries where businesses are, of course, embarking on digital transformation initiatives to gain that competitive advantage and to improve customer experience. Rahim sahab, jaise aapne kaha, customer experience has to be on top of things because the customer doesn't really care about, the different protocols that you need to set. They want to see their own convenience. They want to see how swift the action is for them. And of course, the business side of things wants to look at profitability. In a lot of these cases, this also means that using technology to create new business models while, keeping up with the pace of digitization. Right now, like, of course, in the last few months, we've seen a spike in e-commerce activities, online payments and other services, or in fact, even leveraging artificial intelligence. Like you said, a lot of people don't prefer anymore to come into a bank branch. So all of that has to, move to digital mediums. How do you think, keeping all of this in mind and an ever-changing landscape, because even with COVID, we've seen that every month there's some new regulation that, banks need to keep up with and all other businesses also need to keep up with. How do you think it's possible to apply a digital transformation approach to data security itself by using some of these, same principles and strategies that you're talking about? And I'd like anyone to take this on first.
So let me take that. I think the utilization of data security standards that are available in the market is something that should be utilized, and utilizing it to the best of your advantage is only going to help establish that cybersecurity posture and make senior management aware of how you want to lead cybersecurity program in the organization. This transformation program is going to be based on standards, perhaps not one standard. It's up to the organization itself which standard it wants to utilize. It depends on the size of the organization. It depends on the culture in the organization. It depends on the industry in which you operate, and you should be picking up your standards accordingly. You can also come up with your own. If you think that when you don't want to pick up any one standard, I think that is appropriately fine. Just get the controls out of whichever standard you feel fits in and utilize it to the best of your advantage. What I've seen in my experience in these years, I have found 27001, the ISO standard, to be of significant importance, and organizations have utilized it heavily and base their policies on it as well. And not just that, organizations who comply, which have complied with the standard, are well respected in the market, and they are at a certainly much better cybersecurity posture as well. Add to it the ISO 27005 standard, which is the ISO standard for cybersecurity risk management. It is indeed a good standard in order to establish that cybersecurity risk framework within the organization, and it's going to help you in assessing and managing the cyber risk of the organization as well. And lastly, but not the least, the frameworks from State Bank of Pakistan are quite comprehensive in their own right as well. We have seen the payment card security framework. We've seen the internet banking security framework. A lot of a focus has come in on digital payments because that is where we have headed to already. And the focus is there from the regulator to move everything to digital and less cash as possible. And so we're seeing a lot of emphasis, and hence the compliance with all of these standards, frameworks itself is going to build that cybersecurity governance structure in the organization and help you improve the cybersecurity posture as well.
Thank you. I think that was really well put together. Iftikhar Sahab, over to you.
Yes, rightly said, Atif. To have a strong governance around your data, so you need to have a mature model or framework to drive the whole program you have designed. So as Atif said, there are many open standards available in the market, like PCI DSS, ISO. If you talk about the NIST has a deep dive, you can go. So it has many of the series. If you talk about the encryption, it has a different controls. If you talk about the incident response program, it has a different framework. It gives you the idea of guidelines to make your own program. So there are controls available. You can also build your own, but definitely you need to have an R&D then to produce your own program or to have the strong framework. So it's better to utilize the open available programs and check what best suits to your environment, what best suits to your industry which you are living right now, and if the program you are opting is not conflicting with the regulator, because regulators have their own program as well. So you have to check as well that the regulator program must not conflict with the program you are adopting right now. Plus, if you have entities in the international, so then you have to check the international regulation as well. So like if you have a customer of a European entity or country, so you have to check the GDPR rules as well. So there are open source or you can say open program available in the market. So you can adopt any of them which best suits to your environment.
Thank you. Thank you. I think one thing that you highlighted is that, having these set either regulations or this regulatory framework has been of most importance. And Iftikhar Sahab, like you said, jab se GDPR aaya tha, there was a lot of in layman terms, people started talking about what this means to me as a user and how does it protect me and my data. And I think that's been remarkable in terms of that awareness that all of us were trying to do in our own ways, but weren't getting to. So I think that's always helped us. Rahim Sahab, I'll leave you to this and then I'll move on to my next question.
I'll go with the tried and tested one, a combination of PCI and NIST. Like PCI defines the specific requirements for the card data protection, whereas NIST provides the broad security and risk management part. So a combination of both of them definitely ensures control efficiencies and greater alignment with the organizational objectives, and of course keeping in mind the regulators' need as well. Talking about if you are having international customers and like GDPR and like GDPR if comes in, so definitely I would say that PCI complements GDPR. PCI helps a lot in implementing GDPR because the baselines are the same. You need to have the baselines in there to have the next pillar on top of it. So if the baselines are there, it's very easy to add more and more controls or to add another layer of security to that. So overall, in the overall perspective, I would advocate for the PCI DSS and the NIST framework, a combination of both of them that covers more or less your security objective and the organizational objectives. But of course, you need to realize, you need to see how your organization is going and what are its objectives. Then you need to align different frameworks. ISO is a very good one, and it covers a lot of your organizational objectives. But in the end, please don't blindly select any framework. You need to see your organization objectives. You need to see the regulator in mind, not of course the local, but the global regulator as well. Because if you are having international customers, you have international presence, then you need to see the overall 360-degree view of your customers, your organization needs, and then need to select a framework and of course work diligently to implement it. Selecting is not enough. You need to implement it properly. You need to have those controls in place to win the customer's confidence.
So on that front, I think a lot of the conversation has been on, of course, the different protocols or guidelines that exist locally. We've also just had a recent update where Pakistan released its first, I think, cybersecurity policy. If I'd just like to see if any one of you has any comments to make. And what this means for the industry, because I do understand that all of you come from a regulated industry where the role of the CISO is defined, and there's a lot more work that's gone into this industry particularly. But I was telling Rahim Saab offline as well that the CISO designation outside of the banking sector is actually very, very rare to find, and it's taken that many years for us to have all of you come to this stage. What will it take for the rest of the industry to pick up as we move towards digital transformation?
Can I take this question?
Yeah, of course.
So I think it's very interesting. I mean, if you look at the perspective, I think it's great that we have our first cybersecurity policy. I think it's already a couple of decades late. And I think what you rightly said, I mean, if you look at the industries which are already quite regulated, and we have financial sector people over here. So State Bank has already put a lot of guidelines on a lot of areas. Like we had a cloud policy coming in last year as well, setting up framework and guidelines how the customer would behave. There are a lot of, what the government, I think, is doing, and you'll see as we progress in few months from now, the security policy is going to be followed by a lot of other policies, a government policy on certs. So you'll see a lot of certs coming in at the government level. You'll see CISOs in the government sector, which are not there. You'll see customer data protection policies coming in. So whatever has been happening in the private sector, I think the government sector, and you have looked at the incidents which have happened in the recent times, I think government has a very strong initiative this year, next year, and year after because of the cybersecurity. So in the government sector, certs, it's here next year, in a year, 2 years. Another thing, as I said, you'll be looking at a lot of CISOs in the government sector as well. We also feel like that the framework which is going to come is from the legal perspective as well. So you'll see a lot of accountabilities and laws in terms of negligence at the government level as well. Because if you set up a policy and there's no accountability around those areas, it just doesn't make any sense, right?
I think it was much needed at a country level because now there was a time when this was forecasted, I would say back in 2004, FireEye founder Ashar Aziz actually identified that there will be nation-state attacks and nation-state wars, and which led to the terms being coined of advanced persistent threats. And that is the reality now that we can see very much in presence, where espionage is happening through the cyber channels, and it is pertinent to have this policy at a country level. This is going to help us, our governments to secure their databases, which hold a wealth of information of Pakistani citizens. And we have been hearing about a lot of such news in the past few days, and we certainly do not want to hear them again. And such efforts at the national level will certainly help to establish that cybersecurity governance structure in all of the government divisions in order to improve their cybersecurity posture. Not only that, it will help us to establish that overarching complete umbrella on the private sector as well, because then the private and banking sector will be having that aligned approach, an overall approach to cybersecurity at a national level. We will be having certs in place, national level certs of how to respond to an incident at a national level. What is and a lot more collaboration and connecting the dots is required, and I feel that this policy is going to help that. We see we don't want to be operating in silos, and we need to break these silos, and this policy is actually going to help break that silo.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to make a comment on the national cybersecurity policy?
Yeah, sure. We definitely welcome the first cybersecurity policy. This will enable that realization. Again, we are talking that support should be from the top. So from the top, that is there. We have the new cybersecurity policy now, and now this realization will definitely go towards down the line people of Pakistan, and they will realize how important it is. They will realize what measure they themselves have to take to safeguard their data. They will realize what government is doing, what the institutions are doing to support them. And of course, a collaborative effort will help everybody. This awareness will help everybody to take the necessary measures. And of course, as Ashar said, you will see a lot more CISOs in governments, and when they'll be there, you will see a good and excellent, I would say, a change from at the government side as well, from the security perspective. So first step, well done. We hope there would be few changes or maybe more changes, but you need to be quick because we are running out of time. It's a time when people are quite efficient in getting customers' data. So we need to have those realization, those awareness, those controls in place. And cybersecurity policy is the way to go. Thank you, government.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Ashur Saab, would you like to continue? I think you left off in the middle.
I know. Just to add over there, I think my colleagues would agree with me as well. Until there is no push from the regulator or from the top, a lot of organizations don't spend that dollar value, right? So a lot of, I mean, if you look at what was it's a common joke. What was the main factor of digitization last year? And everyone actually says Corona or pandemic or however you put it, right? So what it means for the industry is you're going to see a lot of changes. I mean, if you look at SACP has raised some of the policies for insurance industries because we work with that vertical, and I've seen their there's some guidelines over there. But if you look at every organization which is from the private sector is linked with SACP, so for every vertical, they will come up with the guidelines, and not only guidelines, but you're looking at some audits, like you do financial audits at a different level as well. So I'm talking about like maybe 3, 4, 5 years down the lane, but it's a start. You look at the neighboring country, it's 5th or 6th revision of the policies which they have already put in place. So as everyone said, finally we have something. And I can tell you with 100% surety, you'll see a lot of new things coming in few months, from data privacy to cloud policies and stuff like that. So exciting times, and it will actually grow the local industry from our side, because we work as a system integrator in the country, and it will open up a lot of, it will actually help all the CISOs and the people who are working in the security industry at the customer side as well, where they have more buy-in at the senior level, where they have to meet those compliances, other than banks I'm talking about, because State Bank will definitely fine the banks if they're not following their guidelines, but you'll see that happening in other verticals as well.
Thank you, Ashur Saab. Iftikhar Saab, would you like to add on anything to that?
Yes, definitely. As Atif said, it's there I drew that. So I would say Dilon ki awaaz thi actually. It's we are very yeah, right. So good initiative from the by the government. We had regulation from the financial institutes, but so we were expecting something from the government side. So it's good initiative, and a lot of maturity needs to be there. And as Shasab said, there are many more to come. So we have to see what is coming. I hope that it would not be only a piece of paper. It must be applied, and it must be must have something which can be accountable, which can be justified, or which has to be audited.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you to all our speakers. If there are any questions here from the audience, we can take them now. You can just unmute yourself and go right in. We'll take a minute or two. If there are any questions, we'll take those. So it seems like this very obedient classroom where all participants are, only the video off, mute, so you don't know what's been going on. But
I think maybe Ashur Faisel has joined us, and he can share his views on the latest in the Pakistani cybersecurity industry. Perhaps we would like to hear from him.
Absolutely.
From the latest security side, I think we're still lagging. I think we are coming in the industry with the realization that a lot of things needs to be done. I did a presentation, I think, in some of the events before, where I talked about where the industry is right now in terms of security, where especially where we are in terms of the SOC runnings right now in the country, where we are in terms of maturity of that SOC at the moment. So I feel I've seen a total openness in terms of CISOs, how they are open to ideas which are more innovative. I think the cloud policy has really helped in terms of integrating solutions. As Iftikhar Saab said, APT is very critical, and I know they use very sophisticated technology around it. And it was only possible because State Bank last year had some cloud policies come in and work and allow the customers to use those sophisticated technologies. So I think the industry is growing. Challenges are still there. Challenge being the financials. Definitely, I've seen it's difficult for CISOs to get in buy-in for the budgets. But now, as most of the banks are going through board meetings, and I know a lot of banks are right now during this month, the new initiatives definitely is going to help. Hybrid approaches, international partners coming in to support the cybersecurity infrastructures, which actually helps us as a technology partners to build our skills in the industry. So we build an ecosystem where we can grow the local industry, because we feel like we, even as a system integrator, we feel like we are very lacking in terms of what expertise we carry in order to provide to our customers what an international partner would bring in. because we don't have that expertise, we don't have that setup, we don't have those customers at that maturity as well. So overall, I think positive direction, industry moving. You'll see a lot of collaboration, international and locally, combined hybrid approaches in the, especially in the financial sector, where some part of the ecosystem, like especially the APTs and the threats which are on the internet facing side, will be managed through international partners with their support. For the local, I think internal compliances, internal threat, I think almost all customers I know, they have SIEM solutions, most have SOAR. We're working with them to put playbooks and stuff like that, a lot of integration happening. So it's interesting times, but I think the realization is there that the CISO cannot just look after the technology. Technology is getting very complex. You need to look at the end result. So what we are trying to educate the customer is start from the end and come backwards, focus on the end goals. Don't get too much into the technology, see what you can get out of it. So value for money is the key message we have this year for the customers we are working with.
Thank you. So we have a question here from Sajjad Zaidi from Bank Alfalah. He's asked, we have seen some remarkable boom of cryptocurrencies, and is there any plan from the financial sector to regulate these on national level, and how volatile is it on security and control level? So I do know that there's a cryptocurrency, I think something in the works, a regulation of sorts. I think that it is in the works, but if any one of you would like to take this on.
So right now, there is no regulation from the State Bank of Pakistan that a financial institute has to entertain the cryptocurrency. Though there is a court order, I don't see any institution right now in Pakistan working on it. So hopefully in near future, we may have seen some regulation or something around it.
Yeah, just to add, we will wait for the regulation from the central bank, and of course, different strategies will be in place based on the directives from the central bank.
So lots of discussion around cryptocurrency globally as well as in Pakistan as well. Certainly, the take from the regulator is going to matter a lot. But at the same time, there have been a lot of incidents happening across the globe where the Bitcoin or wallets of people have gotten empty. So that has been a concern. It will be staying as a concern. And cybersecurity is certainly going to play a big role in order to keep the digital wallets of people secure.
Absolutely.
I mean, from cryptocurrency, I think we as being under the gray FATA list, I think even if it comes in, it's going to be very difficult to regulate. AML is going to be a big issue. So personally, I don't see it happening. But if you look at the countries, as some of the countries are already experimenting in their own country-based cryptocurrency, so that might be something which might come in the future, but I think it's too early to say anything, and it's a regulator-based thing, how they're gonna look at it and how they perceive it in the market.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you very much. I think there are no other questions. If there are any closing comments that any of you would like to make as we close this?
Yeah, I would say a single comment. When you're talking about CISO, we say they are Chief Information Security Officer, but the role has now changed. It's Chief Influence Security Officer, because that influence is very important. And that advisory role and the strategist role is very important to educate everybody and to get the things done on the ground. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. I think that sums up what we are trying to do here, take up the conversation and highlight, of course, the role that a CISO plays, which is so integral. I think in the last, everybody talks about digitization equals to, COVID happening to Pakistan or even globally also. And I think it's unfortunate, but also, well, we're lucky that finally, that time has come for us also, that we're starting to look at, this as an industry or this as a vertical within an enterprise. So I think about time, yes. Any closing comments from you?
Yeah, I must say that's a very great comment from my friend Rahim of Chief Influence, because certainly our job is a lot about influencing the right and advising on the right things. Needless to say, this has been a great session. I must thank you for organizing it in such a seamless fashion. It's an opportunity for us to share our views. It's an opportunity for us to connect. And it's an opportunity for the coming, the people who are entering into the cybersecurity arena of what to look for and how can they plan their future. What is happening these days? What has been happening in the past? And what to look out to in the future. So I think it's a great opportunity for everyone to leverage the best out of these sessions and attend and contribute, and for us to contribute to the society as much as possible.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you very much for your valuable input. Iftikhar Saab and Ashur Saab, if there's anything that you'd like to say as we close then.
Thank you so much for making me on board. I think there is a lot to learn and a lot to give to share the experience. So in near future, I'm expecting that I will be onboarded in any other forums you have.
Inshallah, inshallah, absolutely.
Thank you, Ji.
Excellent event, and I actually learned a lot of stuff, and actually I made notes out of the comments which was going on and the discussion going on. So I think, personally speaking, I think digitization is not going to stop, and security is the key factor for digitization, definitely. So a lot of pressure on CISOs. It will keep on growing, the responsibilities, the Roshan digital program, and a lot of programs to come from the government as well. And I know for sure these guys had to be up day and night to actually launch those applications on a very short notices as well. So overall, I think great event, and thank you very much for everyone for being here.
Thank you very much. Thank you to our partner Commtel, and thank you to our esteemed panelists for today. It was a very insightful session, and we hope that anyone who's missed out can then, of course, tune into the recording or any other platform that we publish this on. Once again, thank you to all our speakers, and with this, we'd like to close our session formally. Thank you, and Allah Hafiz.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hafiz.